Thanks for tuning in to our review of the Yakima StageTwo bike rack. Now there's only one real way you can review a bike rack. Road trip! All right, everybody, so Yakima offers the StageTwo rack in either a 2 or 4 bike option for 2 or 1.25" hitch receivers. It has a lot of very cool features, from that tilt-away feature. Oh God. We have it currently set up in the 2 bike configuration. You can get it a 2 bike add-on and a lot of other cool additional features if you like. Now, it has a very cool tilt-away feature to allow access to the back of your vehicle. A really nice feature is this easily accessible from top or bottom handle, which will release it to go down or fold it up out of the way if you're not using it. This rack is available in 2 colors, and obviously our preferred online retail partner, CompetitiveCyclist.com, has quite a few of these in stock. Please be sure to use Loam Wolf 15 for 15% off any applicable items on your first purchase. So let's get into some of the features and add-ons for this awesome bike rack. So with the 2 bike configuration, each tray is rated to withstand up to 60 pounds. It is also RV rated and tested. If you are off-roading, the weight does decrease. Similarly, if you have the 4 bike extension on the rack, the 60-pound weight limit decreases as well. Obviously, this thing gets a lot longer with 4 bikes on there, so the overall rack weight with the 4 bike has to drop to not overload the capacity of most receiver hitches. The StageTwo features a tiered platform, so each rack is, or each tray I should say, is a little bit higher as it steps up. This serves a couple of really neat purposes. And the first is you don't quite have that flat bike-to-bike interaction. There are also staggered tray placements, so the bikes are slightly offset, but that difference in height also keeps bikes a little bit freer and farther from each other. An added benefit, especially with a longer wheelbase vehicle like this, that departing angle is a little bit improved because you've got a little bit higher rack. The farther out it goes, the higher it gets, so you're not going to be quite so likely to drag this thing leaving really steep driveways or trailheads. Yakima has their strong arm, which is a really easy to use, kind of pinch and locking track system. Slide that out of the way to get the bike in or out. It stays down in place very nicely. We've put 5,000 miles on this rack with downhill bikes, e-bikes, everything in between. It will fit 29-inch wheels all the way down to 20-inch wheels. In the stock configuration, you can run up to a 3.25-inch width tire. They do make a fat tire or a fat bike tire kit, which is essentially just a longer strap. This front tray will hold the fat tire, so you can either buy the fat strap or rig something else up on your own if you want to save a few bucks. Something that I am a huge fan of is security, both in transport and while parked. Now, this isn't a lock that I would leave my bike on overnight or disappear for hours at a time, but this is something where if I'm just going into the gas station to get a drink, grabbing a quick bite, something like that, and I can keep an eye on the bikes, having these built-in locks is very cool. They use their same key system, so all the locks on the bike rack as well as down into the hitch all use the same key. There is also a built-in hook or loop, I guess you could call it, down here on the main frame of the rack. So if you've got a bigger, burly, heavy-duty lock, you can run it through the bike and easily attach it to the bike rack, ensuring a little bit more safety and a little bit more time if you did have to go inside somewhere. Speaking of ease of use and cross-compatibility, once this rack is assembled, you really don't need a tool again. Yakima uses their speed knob, which is a very quick and handy to use tightening system. It's sort of an anti-rattle system as well, and there is a built-in lock in that. So once you slide this rack into your receiver hitch, you simply grab and twist that speed knob until it spreads and tightens inside that rack. There is a little pin, a safety pin. Something that was a little bit weird and kind of tripped us out a bit was that the pin doesn't go all the way through the rack or through the receiver hitch, which most systems do. There's just a little like detent and a cutout, and it just kind of barely slides in on one side. It hasn't fallen out yet. Like I said, over 5,000 miles, lots of road construction, abrupt edges. It's still there. The rack is still stable and moving, so apparently it works quite well and without any issues. So really nice features. Again, it makes it quick and easy. You don't have to have a socket set. You don't have to have tools. Just unlock the speed knob, turn it, slide the rack out, and you're done. So moving into the optional accessories. As I mentioned earlier, there is a 2-bike add-on. You might notice we also have the LED light kit. There is a cool internally routed wire that you run through to a traditional 4-pin connector. If you do want to run the 2-bike extension, that will still reach. You can also relocate your license plate onto the bracket there to make sure you are all safe and compliant with any local laws. There's also a loading ramp, so if you've got a very high vehicle, bad shoulders, a heavy e-bike, you might want to check out the loading ramp. Obviously, you could probably make one yourself for a little bit cheaper, but this one does click into place here nicely. From there, you can roll the bike up onto the tray. It is a nice feature and something that I could imagine a lot of people, if they're putting this on the back of an RV or a taller vehicle, like I said, would really appreciate. Now, in terms of how the rack performed, we have put it on a couple of different vehicles. It goes in and out, no problem, stays in place, stays put. The bikes are protected. They're not contacting each other. It's easy to load them and unload them. Something that I really like about the rack is how this little ratchet feature down below, it stays out of the way. So many of the older system racks, you'd have to, you fight, that thing would just want to fold over and stay down, and so you'd either have to place the bike on it and then lift it once it's in the tray to get it back out and then latch it back down. This one has a hinge, so it stays open, out of the way. Makes it, it's just a little feature, but something that is a really nice touch, especially on a high price rack like this. You want those little creature comforts and niceties to kind of put you at ease for spending that kind of money on a rack. Aside from that, these all pivot smoothly. It's easy to grab. They don't stick, they don't bind. From a functionality perspective, the rack has really been almost flawless. We have had some issues when we are trying to lower the rack from like the folded up position, or mostly when it's in that tilt away down position and trying to bring it back up to that locked position. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain to get that latch to close back in there and keep the bike in this spot, but that could just be grit, debris. We've had a pretty nasty spring with lots of chemicals on the road and slush and mud. So, again, we're durability testing this thing, right? I don't think a lot of people want to spend $800+ on a rack and have to take it apart after a few months. So that is something I think we need to criticize and say could be improved. But again, we have abused this bike and been pretty rough on it, so it may not be an issue for a lot of folks out there. Aside from that, the LED light bar is very cool. Definitely adds an element of safety, especially when you've got 4 bikes on the back of a vehicle. It is really hard to see turn signals and brake lights, so we like that. The bikes don't move, they don't wiggle, the rack doesn't bounce around a bunch. Overall, a very solid unit. If it's in your comfort zone of spendability, definitely a rack worth considering. I think Yakima did a great job building a premium high-level rack. I think if you're going to be carrying more than 2 bikes though, I probably would look at other options. I think for us, right, we've got a big long van, and even if we had a shorter car, to be honest, once you get that 2-bike add-on extension placed in here and you got 4 bikes, this thing comes way off the back of a vehicle, and I think at that point I would rather go for a vertical rack. Yakima, as well as many other options, are on the market. I just think if you're regularly carrying more than 2 bikes, a vertical rack is going to be the way to go. It's just going to hold the bikes closer. It won't be as long. It won't have as much leverage on the back of your hitch. So take that for what it's worth. But if you're looking for a great 2-bike option with the ability to add on down the road, well worth a look. Thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, we would like to thank CompetitiveCyclist.com for being our preferred retail partner online and extending a 15% discount code to our viewers. So use Loam Wolf 15 for 15% off all applicable items at your first checkout. Thank you guys very much. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we hope to see you out in the next video.